You found us.
Welcome to Emergency Protocol, a podcast for people who are stressy and depressy.
We are your hosts,
Denise
and Jackie Freed. That's my mama.
And that's my baby.
We are sharing our 12 steps reimagined for today's society.
And our bumpy, pothole-ridden spiritual paths.
And we're bringing you along for the ride.
This is us doing the actual work.
When the shit hits the fan, you know it's time for Emergency Protocol.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back. We're here.
Back.
Hi, people. Hello, people out there. Mm-hmm. So it is December
Weird.
2nd. We're rolling into the holidays. We have a lot going on. There's been a lot going on. Jackie was saying it feels like it's been a year because usually we host Christmas Eve at our house, have for decades and decades before the pandemic, and cook food and invite anybody who needs a place to go. And we end up with about 40-ish people that we cook for, and it's a lot. And we don't have a big house for that.
Part of your Christmas amends. Anyways, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Could be. So I'm like, I don't have it in me this year for that.
Correct.
And then Jackie was starting to list all of the things like, it was a big year. Mm-hmm. We had big birthday.
Turned 30. Had a big trip. Livy's graduating.
Sissy's graduating.
There's a lot happening in the world.
Now. She's graduating next week.
Wow. Oh,
there's
Sparky Dog.
Welcome
Emergency
to the protocol where things happen. Even though I blocked my dog from the window, her dog, she can't help herself. No. Anyway, so last time we talked a bit about amends, and you had your first experience with that.
Yeah,
Do you want to talk about that? It was
kind of like my first intentional amends. So, yeah. I'm not sure if Aurelia knows this. I know Geneva knows about this because Geneva was there as it was happening. So, and I don't think Aurelia listens to this. So, anyways, hi, Rose. But I was a bridesmaid in one of my best friends / roommates from college's wedding this summer on Cape Cod. And being me, I'm the assistant to the regional manager, Geneva being the regional manager. And I'm just doing my thing, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to steam the dresses so that everybody's wrinkle-free when we're getting on the trolley and whatever. So I'm going about that, steaming dresses. I get to the mother of the bride's dress, and I'm steaming the skirt, and all of a sudden the mesh layer that's on top of the skirt makes contact with the steamer and just melts onto the steamer panel. And I'm like, oh. It's that moment, right? Where it's something bad has happened.
Yeah.
Obviously not intentional, but still makes you feel horrible. It's
within
that was
hours.
The one bad thing that happened during this wedding, right? And so I'm like, oh God, what do we do?
Was it the front of the dress?
It was the front of the dress. Oof. Front of the dress, halfway down the skirt. And so luckily we had safety pins. What we did was we kind of safety pinned 2 pleats running down the middle. And mind you, mother of the bride, Carrie, is an angel. She is a pastor by trade, now retired pastor. And she was incredibly gracious about it. Totally understood that it was an accident and was very kind and, took it very much in stride. And I was very grateful and I apologized profusely. And she said that that was enough, right? It's okay. Yeah. It's, it is what it is. Accidents happen. But it was still sitting with me, right? And so I was like, all right, I think I just need to I looked online to try to buy her another copy of the dress. I even took a picture of the little tag and the size and the SKU. Couldn't find it anywhere.
Jackie is an ace shopper.
I'm really good at online shopping. I will find you the thing.
She will find you
via Romanian eBay.
Yes.
So, anyways, yeah, I tried to find the dress, couldn't find the dress. So it's shit. Well, I still want to make this right in a way that feels good to me. So I just ended up getting some cash from the bank, putting it in a big envelope and putting it in a bigger envelope so people would know that it was cash. And then I wrote an apology letter and sent that off. And it was like, oh.
All right.
Yeah. Because even though the other thing was accepted, it didn't feel right to me.
Got it.
Still.
I hope she got the cash. Did you send it in a
Carrie,
priority?
let me know if you got
Did you send it in a priority bag?
Yeah, it's in a big holiday envelope.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
Bye-bye cash. I just see that emoji with the cash
The
flying
flying.
away. So how did you feel about, like, after when you sent it off?
I felt good. Like it was like, again, another little piece of like lizard skin, just like peeling away, going into the compost. But it took me a really long time to send it. Like that wedding was in July, end of July. So I only sent it off like
November,
right? And part of that was like, oh, like I want to make this right, but my cash flow doesn't really allow for it right now or whatever, you know, all the balancing
right?
of that. And then finally I was like, you know what? I have made some money. I took out the money and I just like set it aside in a particular envelope. So it was interesting because it took a lot of steps and a lot of like giddy up to actually do the thing. Right? Like I wasn't able to just rip the Band-Aid off all at once. Like in a quote unquote ideal world, in theory, I should have been able to just go get the cash, stick it in an envelope, send it off right away and be done with it. Right? But it took a while for me to like mentally craft the message that I wanted to send and then to actually handwrite that out and then send it off. So anyways, Carrie, I hope you got the money. And if not, I hope whoever ended up with the money is enjoying their holiday blessing. I don't know. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I don't send cash.
I'm still
in the
learning
mail.
how to adult.
Yeah, priority mail is the way to go because it's tracked for future reference.
Okay. Hopefully I won't need to do that
Hopefully.
again. Now I'm doing another big amends.
Okay.
Which is I have years of back taxes. And that's embarrassing as fuck to say out loud.
Yeah.
But I know there are other people out here in the world
Yeah.
who have also not paid their taxes.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's okay. We're still good inside.
That's
It's
right.
okay.
That's right.
It's okay.
I've had off and on back tax problems. It's really hard because in my real estate career, it was like, you know, when you get paid, I wasn't paying myself like I should have been, which was like as a salaried employee
Should
working
yourself,
for
but
my
yeah.
corporation.
Right.
Right. And so it was just, I was always behind the eight ball. I didn't do my quarterlies on time. Then I had to pay extra and blah, 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 blah,
And
blah,
tracking
blah,
your business
blah.
expenses when you've got 2 kids.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was just a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Adulting is not for the faint of heart.
Yes.
And being an entrepreneur is
Doing
also
it sober.
and doing it sober is
Or,
also
like,
yeah.
mostly
Nothing to take
sober.
the edge off.
Yeah, you know, I think
Yeah.
I could pour a glass of comfort wine, but that's just going to make me like sleepy and then make my stomach feel kind of weird. Maybe I'm allergic to wine anyways. Now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm like, maybe that's not the best choice for me for another reason.
Which, by the way, when Jackie was considering going to medical school, it was like the PDA of like, maybe I have fill in the blank. Maybe I
Spent a lot of time on WebMD, but I was kind of right. I had some stuff.
You were kind of right.
I was kind of right. I bet you, Wesley, and don't sue me for this, but I bet you they are chock full of mold, that school. I would bet you $1 million that exacerbated my like toxic mold stuff.
You mean that big kind of penitentiary dorm situation that you
I think
lived
it was
in?
the butts. I think I was in the old unrenovated version. But I had a professor who had toxic mold issues, and we all thought she was bananas. Sorry, Julie.
Didn't believe Julie. Sorry, Julie. You were right. Maybe she got it from outside. I don't know. Anyway.
Anyway,
So, amends, and you were just talking about Christmas Eve, and maybe it was an amends that I made. It probably started out as something like that for not showing up that one Christmas.
Yes. Okay. See? The Christmas guilt.
Yes.
So, Christmas Eve, let me just tell you, like, she kind of explained it, but it's literally like our extended family, basically, all the Jews who don't have a place to go on Christmas, and then, like, kind of all of their, like, program friends.
Yeah.
Who also, like, either don't have family in LA or don't have a place to go or burn bridges or whatever.
And also the strays that the friends bring that also don't have a place to go. So, like, there's friends of friends.
You used to host a lot of people, too, before you had me and Livy. You and Dad used to, like, host a lot of people who are getting back on their feet in their house.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe when you stopped doing that, this was also kind of another way to give back to that community.
Well, I think it started out because both our parents were divorced, and so we got to be Switzerland at the holiday time. We could be the house where everybody could come if they chose to celebrate the holiday. And it wasn't Christmas Day, it was Christmas night, and your dad likes to cook and smoke turkey every year, and I found a recipe that went really well with that for stuffing, and it just kind of grew from there. And then everybody got used to coming, and it was just a thing. It was like
a white elephant.
It was such a thing that we barely had to send out an invite for it. It was just like we're just
people
doing
just
Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, we would send it because people would go, "Are you doing it this year?" But then once the pandemic hit, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have to do this." Like, and for me, it was a lot. Like, I would leave Costco with a full cart, and I would leave a grocery store with another, like, 2 full carts of food to prepare because we cooked the whole thing ourselves, which is also joyful, but also like insane to do Christmas Eve when there's so much going on. Like, and I don't know how I did it with 2 kids. I mean, there were times where I was just like, I don't want to do this. And sometimes I do the whole party, have all that stuff, and then still have to wrap all of Santa's gifts. Yeah, it was a lot.
But that's why I'm a Christmas girly and not a Halloween girly. It's all these core memories. Like, you gave me a very magical Christmas every year.
That's true.
You know, even during like the worst of the recession, like, it just felt like all of our little gifts were very intentional and thought out, and you know.
Yes, I do actually think about what I'm buying people.
Yeah.
Like, actually, if it fits them.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe I miss the mark, but I think it fits them. Yeah, so it could be part of that, could be all of that. It was also, I think it's very joyful to bring people around and share meals.
Traditions are nice.
It's been a nice thing to do. And, you know, and it was nice because, your dad's side, Jewish side, never had anywhere to go on Christmas Eve. So they would go get Chinese food, right? The tradition of the
I think
Jews.
we did that one year, too.
We did, and it was so
it the Damon year?
Yeah, the year my brother died.
It might have been the Damon year.
Yeah, it could have been because I
we
just
literally
didn't
did
have
the
it.
Chinese in a movie thing.
Yeah, and that was weird. I was like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
And so this year it's also like that. It's like we could do it, but also it feels weird to not have some sort of homey holiday something here at the house. But
we're also, I mean,
I'm just tired.
Yeah, and we're going out of town right before.
We're going out of town because Sissy's graduating next week. So proud of you, Liv. Yeah. And so that's a whole nother thing with the whole family. So it's kind of just like one of those years where it's just like, and Hanukkah starts next week.
Oh.
So Hanukkah, Christmas, graduation.
Yeah.
All the stuff. So it's just been a lot. It's just been a lot. There's already been a lot that's happened this year. And it's like, okay, might need to pause that. In terms of amends, and I told Jackie, I read this before, and when we were going through the steps, before we did when we were talking about the 9th step, and there is something called the promises, which is read at some meetings, and these are the AA promises, so they're not nowhere aligned with us, but this is a beautiful thing. Now, the thing with the promises, when it shows up in the literature in the big book, it is tied in with step 9. Now, following our steps, right? You're connected to something. You've looked at yourself. You've talked about what that stuff is with another person. You've looked at your own things that aren't serving you or the greater good. And out of the list of writing your stuff, have identified maybe some key things that are that need repair and need amending. And the thing with these promises is that there was something really beautiful about the freedom that you feel. And so now I'm going to read them because now you've done it, and I want to see if they land with you different than they did when I read them the first time.
Fair.
Okay. The promises. 1, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. 2, we are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. And that's in the Alcoholics Anonymous book, page 83-84. So, hearing that now, does it resonate at all? Does it feel like any of that is like shifted?
Yes, I would say most specifically around my like taxes. Like starting to chip away at that. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize how much it was weighing on me. I guess, and so to be working on it and taking action, I think it's like, oh, like there's a little glimmer, right?
Yeah. And I think there's like a weight. There's a weight lifted when you write the things that need writing, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the taking the step forward towards the kind of that new freedom and new happiness is like, I don't know. For me, it was like, I think I can definitely help other people by identifying my most kind of stuff that I don't really want to talk about. Going back to this meeting that we had a while back at our company retreat, people were super vulnerable talking about their insecurities in a professional setting, which is so unusual. Like to talk about your insecurities and feeling less than.
Because in theory, these people are your like quote unquote competition,
but also your peers.
And your peers.
And generally speaking, when you're going into a professional environment, people armor up with their success, right? So it's like, put on the good shoes, put on the good stuff, look professional, act professional, be professional, and also don't acknowledge that maybe this is hard and don't acknowledge that maybe I'm not doing as well as I think I am. And also a huge part of it is comparing my insides with other people's outsides. So I look at somebody's outsides as I'm passing them or hearing them or whatever, and I'm assuming that the insides match that, which is not always the case. But having a place where we could go and share with each other the inside stuff, it brought into that immediate click of what you said. It was like we are connected in a way that is incredible.
Yeah.
Right? Even if I'm not going to be your friend, I am going to recognize you as someone I can talk to if I needed to. Like if I needed to, I probably could call literally any one of those people who doesn't know me.
Yeah.
And they would pick up the phone and like be what's going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or at least return the call. That's, dating myself because I'd actually pick up the phone.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think you guys see each other in person,
Yeah.
but to get to the in-person,
Yeah.
you're texting all the way there. I don't know that you
Yes.
have many
Yes and
phone
no.
calls with people.
Depends on the friend.
Yeah.
Depends on the individual. But also, like, part of it for me, having grown up with this phone, right? Like, literally from iPhone 1 to this, there's so much more, like, spam and input coming into this. Like, spam calls were a thing when I was growing up, but it was mostly the house phone, right? And now it's so bad that on my phone I have to block unknown callers because, or, like, divert them. And my voicemail is mostly just, like, robot calls, spam calls.
Right.
Right? And so even though my friends come up on caller ID, it's like, I don't like it. I can't handle it.
I get it.
Yeah. And also I have to be on the phone for work.
Right. Although I do have to say that a lot gets lost in email and text when you don't have context and you don't have that voice. Like, the way things are said could be taken as aggressive when it could be a joke, right? Or it could be, and you lose that kind of sense of what that is when you're just looking at words that are just laid out there.
Totally. There is also, I think, a interesting demand on our, like, time and attention too, right? Like, right now, the cultural narrative, I think people are pushing back against it, but it's like maximize productivity, like, do, all of the things that you need to do to be successful at your work. But if I also want to have relationships with people, then, like, I want to be mindful of their time too and kind of respond in a somewhat timely manner. And I can't always pick up the phone to do that.
Right.
Sometimes I need to text, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, why would we call this meeting when it could be an email?
That's true. Sometimes meetings don't need to happen.
And sometimes you get phone calls that ask about whether or not you want to go to dinner and then detour into a primrose path.
Oh, really? Huh.
So we just have to be very mindful with our attention economy.
She's making fun of me because primrose path is a term that I use all the time that they say I made up, but I didn't. And I was vindicated by my favorite murder girls who used it in their podcast. And I felt like, ha, I showed you.
Okay.
I showed you that it wasn't just me who made it up. All right, so where we are now is the garage is
coming
together. We're going to have a space to do this that may not have dog barkies and tippy taps, and also a space to gather and commune with this stuff. I feel like, okay, we're gonna come back next week. Maybe we might do something.
A road show.
We might do a road show on the road. On the road next week. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If we can pull it off without too much wind blowing around the microphones or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like literally next week.
It's literally a week from
It's
today.
coming.
A week from
Okay.
today, we will be just getting off a plane.
Wild.
Yeah.
All right.
So, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And probably by the time you hear this, we will already have been back from said plane.
Yeah.
Because we're usually 2 weeks out
Yeah.
in our recordings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're feeling like this year was a lot and it's still a lot,
We're with you.
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And the emergency protocol is like whatever you have to do to feel better. I mean, that's the thing, right? Even though you're doing these hard adulty things, don't you feel like it's harder now that you're doing it to not do it? Don't you think it's harder on your psyche and yourself?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm like, specifically with the tax thing, there's so many layers to it. And our system is not set up in a way for, like, the average layperson to understand what information is needed and what that needs to look like and how it needs to be input and blah, blah, blah. And also because of the way that, like, people live these days, right? Like, I've had 3 insurance companies in that 5-year period, right? Because I turned 26, so I got off your insurance, then I got on my own insurance, and then I switched providers because I didn't really enjoy the first one that I was working with and wasn't really getting care or coverage. And I now have to track, because I don't have an account with those companies anymore. I have to go and track down that information. I have to wait for that to be mailed. And then that's just coming in whenever it comes in. I have no control over that. So it just kind of ends up like still getting piled up. And then I am doubting whether or not I'm actually doing it right. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like, all right, should I just let it be what it is, right? Like, do I just let them charge me what they're going to charge me rather than go through all of this, right?
Right.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. But I think the thing is, isn't there a feeling kind of like what you said with the lizard skin coming off? Isn't there a feeling of like...
In some ways, yes. In some ways, it's like, okay, I am capable of making this happen.
Yeah.
Like, I can get my shit together and like chip away at it.
Yeah.
Right? But it's hard to sustain that level of giddy up.
Yeah, especially around something as tedious as taxes. I mean,
Yeah.
I get that because it just is so minutia
Yeah.
and tracking down random pieces of paper
Yeah.
and account numbers and
Totally.
figures from who knows when. It is a huge pain in the butt.
There's also a fear too of like how that's going to be received, right? Like, I don't know I guess that letter didn't get there. Maybe I sabotaged myself by not sending it through a way that could be tracked. So now I just put it into the universe and was like, well, I did my part. Like, I didn't actually make the amends by not fully thinking it out all the way with the money that I sent to Carrie.
Oh, well, I don't know. You could always reach out to Geneva and ask her if her mom got it. Because Aurelia is still in the dark.
I hope so. I just didn't want her to stress out on her wedding day. And I don't think she did. So.
No. Yeah. And I think the thing is like when we're all just doing the best we can, trying to get along with what is what, right? Like, we're just all doing the best we can, and we have a finite amount of time here on this planet, and we want to spend it as wisely and as comfortably as possible, and also doing the stuff that needs to be done. And then it's like, okay, with this finite time, I want to be doing taxes. No, I don't want to do that.
I want to be sitting with my dog at the beach looking for cool rocks.
Right. But in order for us to go to the beach that's not full of trash, taxes need to be paid so somebody can clean it up. Right? And so it's
and
kind
we
of
have to
like
stop using plastic. Like, again, that's how it goes, right? I'm like, oh, Mom, why did she bring up plastics? Now I'm just thinking about all the single-use plastic.
Right. But
Which, if you live in Los Angeles and have amends to make about that, or San Diego, Plastic Beach is doing great things with their single-use plastic. Shout out to Plastic Beach.
oh, cool. Didn't know that.
Another way to make amends is they're taking the soft plastics and upcycling it. They're selling it to a company because basically the city won't do this. So they're taking the stuff, selling it to a company that then upcycles it into decking.
And also, we have one of the only like machines that's stopping all of the trash from going into the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
In our jetty in Marina del Rey, which is one of the only ones I think in the whole nation.
Yeah.
Actually. So we are doing some things that are super cool.
Yeah.
We're inching our way there, but it's a struggle.
But that's okay. So just to like backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Then, I feel like I have these kind of, now that it's being framed in this way, I feel like I have these kind of ongoing amends that I have been working on, right? Like all of the years that I spent using plastic without even thinking about it.
Right.
And so now I'm like, anytime I get something in the mail, I go and take it out. I cut the label out and I put it in the thing and then take it to the store, right? There's just so much of that at this point that I'm feeling like I need to do in order to be a good person. And also not, be present and aware that there are like tragedies and atrocities happening everywhere, and also not lose myself to that. Like, it just feels, again, like it's that like parachute at gym class where it's like, You're getting yoinked in all these different directions all the time.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Because there is a lot going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
And again, is there stuff I can do? Yes. Is there stuff I can't do? Yes. Right? So I can do what I can.
Yeah.
That feels right for me.
Yeah.
And you can do what you can that feels right for you.
Yeah.
The level of what people do is, you know, like you be you, kind of like a live and let live. Like we don't have to match what we do for the same cause. Yeah. Although she does get mad at us about our plastic use, which is gotten better because of her awareness around it. It has gotten better. It still is a long way to go, but still, it's like, okay, I carry this around all the time instead of
you
having
hopped on the
plastic
Yeti
water
train
bottles, right?
Yes.
So that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
true. Okay, fair. Credit where it's due. You
Yes.
are no longer buying Kirkland toilet paper.
No,
Huge.
right? So I'm doing stuff.
Yeah.
I think, again, people struggle with where do you even start? And it was funny, and I'm gonna just finish with this. I was leading a workshop in my office with our agents, and I had everyone visualize the one person that they felt like they needed to call, who's been sitting on their shoulder that they needed to call. And I was like, okay, you guys think about the person who, like, you've been thinking you got to call this person. I haven't reached out to them a long time and it's bugging me. And I was like, okay, everybody, you've got that person in mind? And they're all like, yeah. I'm like, okay, right now we're going to go call that person. And they were like, I wish I would have had a camera on their faces, because there was this like sheer terror, sheer unadulterated terror. And I think that's the same thing that happens with these men. So they go, they make the call, they come back, and it's like, they were so happy to hear from me, or they didn't pick up, or they texted and said, I'll call you back, or whatever the response was. The bottom line was no one died by making the call, because that's the kind of fear that comes up is like, I'm going to die.
Right. That's what anxiety when it's not serving its like useful purpose.
But because collectively everybody was going to go do this super scary thing, just make a phone call to the one person they knew they needed to call that they've been not calling.
Yeah.
And then they got to come back and report it. And I was like, and I'm going to call on all of you when we come back. And I was like, and I know who's here, so don't you dip out thinking I missed you. Right? And I put him on the spot, and there was a huge collective relief from making that call, which I think is the same. It's like a different action, but it's like, you know, when there's something calling you to be done and you don't do it, just sits there and it eats at you and eats at you and eats at you. And then sometimes you forget that it's even there now, but it has eaten away at you. And so now you were saying you didn't even know that there was something eating away at you until you did it. And now you're feeling this relief that you didn't even know you needed.
Right.
And that's like where you get this freedom, and you get this it's just a lightness of being able to be in the world, because you don't have all this stuff that you might not even remember is like picking away at you. Yeah. So anyway, work metaphors, because I'm a worker. But anyway, I just loved that. And I think that people were shocked at how, like any of this work, a lot of the stress and the difficulty in the work is not the actual work itself. It's the resistance to doing it. Like, I can think my way out of anything. If I could just do it, it would be so much easier. Yeah. And then it's done, and it's like, oh, okay, it's done.
So you have to do it again.
Yeah.
Death and taxes.
Death and taxes. All right. I think that's enough.
It.
All right. Drink your water.
Drink your water. I drink my water.
You're a freaking miracle. Yes. You're a freaking miracle. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate.
Yeah.
or not if you don't.
Yeah.
Even if it's just celebrating those you love, celebrate those.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Make some plans. Be with people.
be with people.
Feels really good to be with people.
It does feel really, really good to be with people. And hopefully we are going to build a nice community for people to find each other and be with each other in a really nice, comforting.
And do taxes with me. We're going to do a tax
way.
support group.
Tax affinity group with Jackie Freed. Coming to a H&R Block near you. Hey, we're not, what did I?
Endorsed?
No, we're not endorsed.
No.
That was not an endorsement.
No.
I'm just making shit up. All right. Have a great whatever. We'll see you next time.
We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and TikTok at 12 Steps for Everyone. That's at the number 12 Steps for Everyone.
Please like and follow us. You can also send us topics you want us to dig into or follow-up questions from each episode.
And if you know someone who would enjoy or benefit from our conversations, please feel free to share this with them. All are welcome here.